From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, Bethenny Frankel, with Gina Grad on news and Bald Brian on sound effects. And now, Real House Husband of Malibu, Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice we get on. Mandate, you get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. I love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's all right.
Handball, Brian.
We all hate you, pieces of shit.
Gina does not speak for the rest of us.
I'm very
listeners
fired
of the
up.
show.
Well, I found an update on my NYPD Gay Pride distance thing that I was a little off on, and sadly in the wrong direction. Also, Max Zapata, something I didn't talk to you about, but Gary pulled an article on Sweden. And then there's also one that Dr. Drew talked about with Sweden as well. Gary may have those, so you can hit up Gary for that.
I hope it's about the bikini team.
Oh, my God. I miss those goddamn days.
They've been hit hard.
Most of those chicks were from Northridge, probably. I'm sure of it. All right. So the article that Max Zapata was having trouble finding, because I kept saying 100 feet, turned out to be a block. So I was talking feet, and they were talking blocks, as it pertained to the Pride Parade
Couple
that's
hundred feet
going on in New York City. Yeah, I don't know what a New York
Is it a
City
short block or a long block?
Gina? Is.
A boulevard or an avenue?
Yeah, but more than 100 feet. But I think Dawson has it now that we found this article.
I mean,
or it doesn't
just,
have it.
No, it's just the statement that I was trying to find was, the New York Police Department will also be asked to stay a block away from the edge of all in-person events, including the march. And Heritage Pride, which organizes the events, will instead turn to private companies for security and safety, calling police officers in emergencies only when necessary, they said.
Oh, so thanks.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to
Hang
be on
tight.
standby. Yeah.
Hang tight.
Yeah, it's not a good harbinger. The cops generally are there to keep the peace. They keep the crime down, and their presence should be welcome. And this weird thing of, all cops are bad and keep them away, or that cops all pose a danger. I mean, there was that phone call, I think it was between a female professor, maybe at a junior college. Was that your alma mater, or is that another phone call?
That's my alma mater, yeah.
Was that her?
I went to Cypress College.
Was that the phone call where she was telling the young guy about cops?
Yeah, so he was doing a report on...
It's a few weeks old.
Yeah, he was doing a report on Paw Patrol, and basically...
The cartoon?
Yeah, well, it was really with Paw Patrol, but it was really in response to police in media and like TV shows and how we portray them.
Okay.
And so
As
he
puppies.
was doing his report on Paw Patrol, and then it was via Zoom, so they actually have the footage of her response to his report.
Yeah, it was kind of telling, and I don't know if we have it somewhere, but
Very curious
the guy
about
was
this.
basically defending cops, and the
This is a student, I assume, who's doing an assignment, or
yeah, where the prestigious school that Max Zapata went to on Paw Patrol. You know what I mean?
All right.
Paw Patrol you.
And he's talking to what looks like a 30-something-year-old female professor. Are they really professors at junior college? I mean, can they?
They can profess.
Yeah, they profess.
I don't know. You know how Dr. Drew doesn't like Jill Biden called Dr. Biden because it kind of feels like it brings him down a couple of
confusing,
notches.
yeah.
I feel the same way with professors at junior college. But we'll play the clip. We're always a little caught off guard by the sound portion of the clip. I would say, but we'll get that ironed out.
I agree.
All right, so you brought up the police in your speech a few times. So what is your main concern? Since, honestly, the whole reason police, it is systemic. The issue is systemic because the whole reason we have police departments in the first place, where did it stem from? What's our history? Going back to what Jeremy was talking about, what does it stem from? It stems from people in the South wanting to capture runaway slaves.
Is that the?
Maybe they shouldn't be heroes.
I don't know that
Maybe they don't
that's
belong.
the science.
Has it maybe evolved since then?
So I disagree
boy.
with what Jeremy said about it because I think cops are heroes and they have to have a difficult job, but we have to have that
All of
fine
them?
life. Oh, I'm not. I
Oh,
mean,
boy.
I'd say a good majority of them. You have bad people in every business and every part. Well, wait.
A lot of police officers have committed atrocious crimes and have gotten away with it and have never been convicted of any of it. And I say this as a person who has family members who are police officers.
Oh,
Which one's the teacher and which
thanks.
one's the student?
Thanksgiving
I
must be
understand.
awesome over at your place.
And this is what I believe. This is my opinion. And this is, not popular to say, but I do support our police and we have bad people. And the people that do bad things should be brought to justice. I agree with that. But I think that...
Wait, what does this debate have to do with the reports?
Say it again.
They haven't.
She doesn't like cops.
Well, I agree with you. on
Are you
that
sure?
point of they should, right?
Okay,
Sure.
so what is your
And-
bottom line point? You're saying police officers should be revered, viewed as heroes? They
I
belong
think
on
it's-
TV shows with children?
I think they
children
are
want?
heroes in a sense because they come to your need and they come and help you and they have a problem just like every other business, but we should fix that. But
It's not
I think
business.
they're heroes. Well, they're
I think
a
that's the
program.
problem. It's looking at it as a business. Because they're actually supposed to protect and serve the people.
They
not
do
the
protect
government.
us. Who do we call when we're in trouble and someone has a knife or a gun? We
I wouldn't call the police.
Why wouldn't you call the police?
I don't trust them. My life's in more
Who would
danger
you call?
in their presence.
Professor, who would you call?
I wouldn't call anybody.
Well, would you have if
I'm gonna
someone
pick up the
intruded your
phone and
house with a gun? What would you have a gun on you, or
No.
who would you call?
No.
It's my time to go.
What?
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
I'm not
that's
going
fine.
to-
If someone already in your house with a gun, there's not much you can do at that point. Calling the police is kind of just,
And I know that it's not popular for me to say that to you guys and people in here, but that's what I believe about the police.
Okay,
and,
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank you
guys
very
for listening.
He's gonna
to the
get a
point.
terrible
I appreciate
grade.
it. Thanks.
I will say,
Is he a
I'm glad you
teacher?
did
All right.
say that, even if I disagree.
That's confusing.
She's
that
the
she's-
professor.
Yeah, that's
Is he a
confusing.
TA? But who? Because it felt like the third guy who didn't say anything was the student.
There were two students.
Oh, there were two
I think
students.
the
Yeah,
two
yeah.
men
Gina's
were the
right.
students, and the female was the professor. Though it seemed like a debate between
It
kids.
really did.
Between students.
All right, gotta
Yeah.
go.
Bye.
Who are you going to call if someone shows up to
Yeah.
your Nobody.
God, that was bizarre.
Would you have a gun? No.
So what do you do?
Well, I'm in more danger. Her life is in more danger from the cops who showed up than the gangbanger who showed up in her world.
It is weird when someone paints themselves into a corner in an argument and it just ends up like, we're leaving. It's over.
We're leaving. By the
Well,
way,
I mean, you're in a logical conundrum here. We got to talk your way out of it.
not the kind of robust debate you'd hope would take place on the college campuses, but this is
No.
where we're at.
And kudos to that kid. I don't know how old they are, 20 or whatever. But it's like he seemed like he was having to go out of his way to calm his teacher down. Like, no, that is not what I meant.
Yeah.
I know it's not popular. And having to use sort of a soothing baby voice so things didn't get out of hand.
Yeah, I know. And it's an issue, man. It's a big issue. And I see the issue is I believe that 30-something-year-old professor believes that cops are more dangerous to her than criminals or no one. All right, that's
cool.
a new era we're living in. Also, yes.
Bob
Sorry,
by
can we just
Chris.
go back to the parade for a second? Because I just keep thinking about the goal. I can't remember what it stands for, but like the Gay Action
Officers
League or
Action
whatever.
League.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the one. Of course, Brian knows it.
Yeah, proud member.
What a giant opportunity missed to have you don't want police presence around in general, but to have gay members of the police force say like, look, like we're here, work where.
It's, by the way, it's Gay Officers Action League or Felch.
That's weird. It
I didn't.
I'll have to,
I
I'll have to
didn't
write
hear
it
the
out.
F.
Gay
I-
Officer Action League. That's or the acronym Felch.
I trust
Just
you in that.
you take the first letter
Okay. Feels like the F was standing for something else.
Oh, come
or
on, Brian.
Felch. It's Gay Officers Action League.
Okay, or
Those are the numbers.
Right.
All right. So it's an acronym. You know what an
No,
acronym?
yeah, I'm
I'm
following
getting
you
the
on that
feeling
part.
Brian doesn't know what an acronym
Yeah,
is.
I'm following you on the basis.
See, the NFL is just letters.
Yeah.
You know, but then there are other things that mean words. Like then they turn other things like OSHA.
Right.
That's an acronym.
Dare.
Sure.
Dare. That's an
NFL
acronym.
not being an acronym because it's actually spelled word.
Right. So
abbreviation.
Gay Officers Action League,
Or
Felch.
I'm telling you, you gotta
You got to Google it.
You know what?
Look it up.
I think it's the tumor.
Just take the first.
Wow.
I'm sorry,
I didn't realize
Gina.
things had gotten so
I didn't
bad
know
so
it's going to take
fast.
so long to get
No,
through that.
I
with
get
Brad.
it. I mean,
He
what are you
doesn't
gonna do?
understand.
What
Totally
you're dealing
derailed
with.
her point about
Yeah.
Felch.
Well, I didn't know we were going to go down this road, but okay.
I just feel like it's.
Let's just agree to
yeah.
disagree, and we'll just turn the page. We'll move
I
on.
want to
gonna have
learn.
to.
I'm here to learn.
Well, do it on your own
Okay,
time. We
Yeah.
all know what it means.
Can we
Go
please
ahead.
move on, Brian?
Please move on.
By all means.
What a horrible opportunity missed to say, like, this is not about cops in general. These are about gay people. And guess what? There are gay cops that are, allies on our side, also gay. And like, what does it cost you to include other gay people? Nothing.
And also, NYPD and places like that are like majority minority cops.
Right.
Like it's
I'd
not
imagine so.
just a bunch of blue-eyed devils
No,
out there.
not anymore.
That's
It used to be all Irish.
It's not
folks.
gangs in New York.
pretty
Right.
damn diverse
Right.
these days. So who you keeping away
Yeah.
from your parade? And then also they made it 5 years in advance. So they're not going to, I don't know, maybe they'll
Punitive.
revisit it every
That's
2.5 years. And then a New York City block, a block in Manhattan, is 264 feet to 900 feet.
Oh,
So
Country
exceeding
mile.
my 100 feet decree I was talking about yesterday. All right, so we got no progress in those departments. Also, I think there was some more talk in L.A. County about water shortages and droughts and
It's been
things
a
like
dry
that.
year. No
Yeah,
rain this year.
as I recall, but it did rain yesterday.
Did it sprinkle in it?
It did. It rained a bit. I could hear it on the roof at night. Maybe not in your neck of the
So
woods,
you're in
but
Malibu or you
out here. I was out in La Cañada, and it was raining. And then I drove in today and saw the sprinklers going off on the side of the freeway again, which is something we need to work out. Also,
I get the alert on my smart sprinkler said we're skipping today. Saturation skip, rain skip. It rained yesterday, it rained whatever. It's like, oh, that's possible.
did you not get the? So it must not have rained where you were.
It didn't rain.
Yeah,
No,
that's
not by us.
It's a foothills thing, I guess. All right. I have a metaphor that has to do with cars, but I was thinking about it when I was doing Take a Knee, my inspirational, motivational podcast. And I came up with this thing, and I was going to try it out on you guys and tell me what you think.
All right, let's hear it.
I've always had this theory that, your life boils down to a couple of moments, couple of instances. I always say first date, you know what I mean? You have a bad outing on that first date, don't get a second date. You don't have to have a good 13th date.
Right.
That can be a stinker. It happens, but you have this thing in front of you.
Sure.
And sort of look back on like the first time I called into Kevin and Bean as Mr. Birch. I'm like, it had to go well. And then by the 109th time, I could turn in a C minus. But the first one, And I thought, most people's lives, they break down to just 8 or 9 of those moments, you know?
Totally.
If you totally think about your wife or your husband at that first date thing, certain jobs, anyone who's audition for anything,
that's what I was thinking.
sometimes it's an instance, sometimes getting back to it, it's a interaction with a police officer who comes to your car window. What happened? What did he happen? What is that moment? How did you act in that
If you're
moment?
only want to get into the mind-blowing part of it, how many of those moments occur in our lives we don't even know it at the time?
Right. Oh, I'm sure. And
Obviously the
yeah.
audition, the first date, of course, but like
Right.
those moments where you're like, look
You met
back
that
and like, wow,
person.
it all changed.
Yeah.
My life hinged on that moment.
And people spend a lot of time trying to figure out like where those moments are. The problem is you don't always get to pick those moments, and you're not always sure you're
Rarely.
in those moments. Often, I mean, if you go to an audition, you're going to an audition, but there's many where you don't. And then I said, well, here's how basically life works. And I was picturing myself driving a race car.
As one does.
As one does. And I said, well, I did that Trans Am race. It was 100 miles. It was 40 laps. For the majority of the race and the time you're in the car, you're just basically trying to stay on the pace, on the racing pace. You're on the racing line. You're probably behind somebody. There's somebody behind you. You're just going around. But there are a couple little instances where it's time to make a move, and those instances are 3 seconds or less. It's just now's the time to drop in low and try to make this move, and that'll either be very successful, or you could go into a barrier and destroy the car, or you could take out the other person, or you could hurt yourself, or you could kill yourself. But there are those moments. Now, the real question is where are those moments, and when do you choose to seize those moments, And again, in a 100-mile, 40-lap race, there might be 3 of those moments that take place over just several hundred feet, not even near the majority of it. So I was sort of thinking about it, which is the first thing you need to do is just be there and be competent and be on the pace, because if you're not on the pace, there's none of those moments. If you're just hanging behind half a lap from everyone, then there's no openings.
And I say it's luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? It's like yes, you were lucky to get through to Jimmy Kimmel and beat the sports guy's boxing trainer, but you had prepared. You were well versed in comedy or improv or whatever.
Everyone has a version of that. You're working somewhere, you're thinking about starting your own business or something. Well, the first thing you need to do is just be at the work you're at, be competent, be compensated, and show up and build all those muscles and all those habits as well. So that's just sort of being on the race pace. Then it's when do you make your move? Well, you don't make your move after getting into an argument with your boss on a Thursday and storming out.
We should talk about racing?
You start thinking, about this new business, but it might be a year before you actually make that move. But you do have to make the move. And back to the sort of racing metaphor, what'll end up happening is you'll notice on one lap that the person in front of you is a little weaker in this portion of the race course. No one is really whoever's leading the race is fast all the way through the race course. Everyone else has little parts where they don't do it as well as other parts.
I assume we'd be talking about like turns.
Yeah, there's little sections where it's like you notice that person is not on quite the right line or a little bit slower. But when you notice it, you don't make the move. That's you thinking about your business and starting to do the research. The research part is where you try to inch up over the next few laps to get a little closer so that when you get to that spot on the track where you've seen there's a little bit of an opening in that one spot, you're now going to make your move. And again, you only need a few in the course of a race to have it be very successful, but it cannot. I mean, you can crash. So you have to kind of mitigate that as much as you possibly can. But the person that never makes the move never experiences that podium. And the one that makes the move too quickly and too rashly ends up into the guardrail. Right. And it's really about thinking, am I on the pace? Am I executing what I need to execute? And now where's my opening for my move?
Interesting. Very existential.
Yeah, I don't know why I got onto that mode, but think about it. And
very Bob Bondurant.
The first time you see your opening,
noted philosopher,
it may not be the time to make that move.
Right.
You just see that opening and you go, noted. We'll come around again and we'll be at this spot again, and maybe I'll be in a little better position, but I'll also be cognizant of it. Like I will go, all right, now is the space. I'm going to make my move. Yes.
Just to sort of piggyback on that, have you heard of the book The Dip?
No.
It's great. Teresa recommended it to me, and I'm so glad she did. It's a short little book. It seems like one of those you might pick up at the airport, and it's a really quick read, and it's mostly talking to business people. But it's really about all of us, and the main theme of it is when you feel that dip, like you've gone halfway into your project, and you're like, fuck this. Like, it's tiring and I'm not really seeing any results. That's exactly the perfect time to re-energize yourself, because in that dip is where you have to remember the vast majority of everybody else has already given up. That's where everyone is sloughed off. And if you keep going, you are in very rarefied air. So that kind of reminded me of that.
Good.
It's funny, right?
Yeah.
That's a great point. I don't obviously know a lot about race car driving, but it reminds me of like poker philosophy. You know what I mean? Like most of the time, like in a professional game, they edit it right. Once you're on TV, they edit it so they show you all the cool hands. Most of the time, you're folding. You're folding. This isn't a good hand. This isn't a good hand. You're waiting for your moment. You know what I mean? For that moment to come around where if you're in a tournament, it comes down to 2 or 3 hands that you play correctly, and it's not always the best play, but if you happen to catch that third card, you know what I mean? Whatever, you that moment where you're like, yes, this is where I make my move, and this is where I win.
It's true, because when I'm doing community theater, I guess we're done.
Do we have the Sweden article that Drew had as well, or just the other one that Gary had?
This is the one that Gary had.
Okay, there's one about that popped up on Drew's medical feed today. It was about transgender in Sweden and their new decrees. I'll buy you a second. Talk to Edward, 50, Florida. Edward.
Hey there, Adam. How you doing?
Hi, Guy.
Hi, Guy.
Oh.
Hey, question was, I was listening to Dr. Drew and you talking about Big Pharma, and Drew was kind of upset saying that, patients don't understand that all they can do is prescribe medicine or basically go to work on you with a scalpel. Yet you're always talking about the importance of diet and exercise being an excellent solution. My question, just turning 50, I've had every test I need to have taken, and I'm working really hard on diet and exercise, and I'm currently on blood pressure meds, but trying really hard to get off. So where's the balance?
Well, I mean, I think you do your due diligence. I feel the same way about blood thinning, blood medicine, heart medicine, which Drew's on, by the way.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you take those, what do they call them, statins?
Yeah.
Is there a brand name, or is it just called a statin?
Right.
Yeah. No, I feel like you checked out a little here, Drew. Saying is you do diet, you do exercise, and but you also take medication, right?
Sometimes I do. I'll tell you what.
You should take it regularly.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to have you're the physician. I don't know, but I feel like this on again, off again relationship with your statins is probably not great. Should be more of a regimen. Am I right?
Right.
Okay. Well, at least we've agreed on that. But you're on the all protein diet, right? You do all the meats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do the carnivore stuff.
Yeah.
And you jog every day. I know. I whenever I talk to you, I feel like you're jogging somewhere.
Crazy.
Yeah, you jog like crazy. It's true, and I don't think you've ever felt better, Drew. Well, I mean, that's not an endorsement. It doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement for your diet and exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you jog all the time or just sometimes?
Sometimes I do. I'll tell you what.
Okay. All right.
Glad we cleared that up.
Sorry, Edward.
Oh, yeah. I was going to tell you, by the way, thanks to you guys, I got on the NSNG mini diet and been doing it for 2 weeks, and I've already dropped 10 pounds, and I feel amazing.
Crazy.
Of course, dudes already dropped 10 pounds in 2 weeks. That's such a dude thing. You're so lucky.
It could be 400 pounds.
That's true.
I'm very lucky.
Girls don't lose that fast, but that's fantastic.
So, Edward, here's what I would say about medications. Whenever they start talking about like antidepressants and kids and the serotonin reuptake inhibitors and things like that, I'm always like, what's your kid eat? What do they do all day? Like, don't you think if that kid dunked himself in the cold pool and went for a hike in the morning and then had themselves a soft-boiled egg and some parsley or something, that things would, don't you think?
Couldn't hoit.
So I would say do all that stuff first, and then if it doesn't work, then there's an imbalance, and now it's time to look into some pharmaceuticals. I feel the same way about whatever heart medication you're
Mm-hmm.
on or whatever other medications you're on. You know?
I personally, when I gained a ton of weight, which I'm taking off, I had to go on blood pressure and cholesterol medicine, and I'm off of both. So it really, check with your doctor, but I would imagine you'll go off of it.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Thanks, Edward.
You bet. Thanks, guys. Love you guys. Awesome.
Love you. So I was talking to Drew. So he came in and he had some article that showed up on his feed about Sweden and their approach to the transgender issues. And I don't know if you found that one yet, Max.
I found one, but I have to have a subscription to this medical
come on.
thing.
Maybe it's a medical thing. Well, basically, what's going on with Sweden, I'll just kind of paraphrase, is whatever the group is that studies that has decided no more hormonal treatment for prepubescent, whatever.
That was always shocking that was ever a thing. To me, anyway.
Wait a second. Hasn't Dr. Drew talked about this before? I don't want to put words in his mouth, but if your child and if you are sure as the parent that is going to be the way they're going to live, that's the best time to do it. So you don't have to do all this reversal stuff after they already start developing.
Well, it's pretty complex, but
I
I
would
think
imagine.
the theory is that many wish they didn't.
Interesting.
And there's now
I don't hear about
statistics that, well, it depends who you listen to, but I mean, there's no way organically this many people have decided to transition in the last 10 minutes. So it stands to reason that a large percentage of those people are going along with something, which way the wind is blowing. And like you do when you're 12
Right.
or 13 or whatever it is, and you may regret later on, just like Sonny in Pokemon.
Right.
He made a big
Catch 'em all.
decision. It was wrong,
Yeah.
and now he has to be punished for it.
Live with this choice.
So Sweden,
If I could have gotten hormonal therapy at 13 to turn into Jose Canseco, I would have done it.
yes.
Absolutely.
So now,
Still would.
so I said, that's funny that Sweden is leading the charge in that because they're looked at as a kind of progressive beacon who should be on the other side of this issue. And then I started thinking about it, and I went, oh, right, Sweden didn't lock down
I was just gonna
either.
say that, yeah.
And then I remember hearing some articles in the past about Sweden being a little more, little less friendly to migrants and immigrants and wanting to keep Sweden looking
Swedish.
like Sweden.
Socially conservative, as they might say.
Yeah, and I started to think about it. Sweden, who we always just looked at as this super liberal, progressive bastion of whatever, and we always we should be more like Sweden. I don't think Sweden is like Sweden was.
That's a good point.
Well,
You said it makes
good
Sweden great
observation.
again?
yeah, they're the only place that didn't lock down. I mean, that's
Right,
kind
right.
of what you call a tell right there. And then you have this whole transgender
Yeah.
thing. That's another big kind of tell. And
Immigration's a big one.
you have the immigration article.
Sweden pushes ahead with new immigration policy. Many foreigners living in Sweden will find it harder to gain permanent residence under new proposals from the Swedish government. Opposition parties hope to increase the requirements yet further. If the bill as it stands passes, residence permits granted for those in need of protection will be limited. Renewable only if the circumstances under which they were issued still apply. However, it would become easier for people living in Sweden on temporary permits to gain similar permits for family members to join them. Maintenance requirements will be retained, although exemptions will be introduced for families of EU, EEA citizens. The proposal also introduces a new Swedish language and civic knowledge requirement for anyone seeking permanent residence.
Yeah, who the fuck's ABBA and why? Where'd they get their names?
Name
See, that's an
5
acronym
hits.
like
Yeah,
Felt.
that's right.
Including those on study and work permits. Full details.
Language
Yeah.
and social studies.
Swedish chef.
Interesting. Yeah.
Hergen
It'll all be worked out in a separate process and will not be introduced immediately. Similar requirements are to be introduced for citizenship.
All right.
Interesting.
Anyway, just an interesting theory I'm having about Sweden now.
Yeah.
Who we're all assuming they're the tip of the spear in the sort of progressive Euro, whatever. I do not know that is true anymore.
Oh, I think we know that it's not true.
Yeah, it feels.
All right, but is xenophobic as it may sound, I like that Sweden's Sweden. I like that Mexico's Mexico. Like I like the potential of going to these places and drinking in the culture and not just eating at a Starbucks and being. I like
getting a pina colada in London.
Yeah, like Amsterdam.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. I would say that's not Dawson's fault. I would say it's the fault of the bar who had it prominently displayed on a poster. It's Dawson who just heard keys jingling.
That's right.
It got his attention, and he looked at the picture of it and went, I want a pina colada. Sure. And a scant 40 minutes later, he had a pina colada. And a scant 41 minutes later, I had a scotch. I don't know why. Why do I have to suffer for your blender blunders?
That's right.
All right, let me tell you about Hyundai Tucson, man. They've reimagined everything, and it is such a sweet ride now. Like I said, I spent a lot of time in that Hyundai Tucson out front of the theater, the Ace. What's it, the Ace Hotel?
Ace Hotel.
Yeah, and you can learn more at Hyundai.com. It's Hyundai.com. All right, we're going to do trending topics. Quick, we got Mike up here, 43 from Nebraska. Mike?
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, Guy.
Hey, hi, Guy. Before I start my comments, I should let everybody know that it's come to my attention recently that I am Abraham Simpson shouting at the clouds in my old age.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely sound like an old fart. But I don't know how it is out there in California, but here in Nebraska, waiters and waitresses are getting like less attentive to their tables. Like they'll come get your drink order and then you won't see them for 20 minutes. And then in the interim, someone else brings you your drink. And then you do order your food, and another person from the kitchen brings your food. And it's like 4 people waiting on you.
His intro checks out.
And I'm curious.
Yeah.
Well, that's also usually at fancier restaurants.
Also, I just went out to a restaurant on Saturday with Sonny, and this happens to me almost every time I go out, which suggests they need a system. At some point, the waiter comes to you and goes, would you like to put your drink order in? Then you put your drink order in, and then 4 minutes later, somebody else shows up.
Yeah.
Did you guys get your drink order in? It's like, that seems doable.
Just happened to me on Sunday.
Am I going to get 2 iced teas?
Why don't they communicate with one another or have some sort of system worked out?
Yeah.
Or just put some flag on your table or something says you ordered.
Or go
already.
full Bubba Gump shrimp place in Santa Monica Pier. You get the run Forest run or stay Forest stay disc.
Oh, really?
It's so tacky.
Yeah, I think I'll blame a couple of things. One is jobs used to be professions. Waiter was a profession. You'd see those guys in New York in their 60s, their 70s, I mean,
career waiters.
That was a job.
Yeah.
We replaced that with, junior college kids. And I also think that the uniform is weakened a little. I see guys that got the sweatpants on and they got the T-shirt. Nothing feels official anymore. Like a little distinction between who's at the table and who's bringing shit to the table.
There are little diners and little, breakfast places in Los Feliz that I'm intimidated by the waiters because they're too cool.
Oh,
like
yeah.
They're in their like their beanies and their sweatshirts, and I'm afraid to go in because I feel very shamed.
The hell kind of restaurants are you going to?
It's just like little Los Feliz diners and stuff. I'm like, am I cool enough to order the chilaquiles?
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't like cool waiters and I don't like good looking photographers.
Thank you.
Those are the two things I don't appreciate. Thanks, Mike.
Yep, you bet.
All right, Max Pata's loaded for bear. He's got his trending topics. He's coming in, and we'll do that right after this.
He don't even know your name. Thinks your producing skills are lame. Makes fun of how your show. Your job. Like Savannah, he screams and makes you have to jump.
Oh, by the way, in the waiters drinks department, do you guys have this? I frequently have this thing, which is I want to say to people who work at a place like full time, they're middle aged, like they've been there. Like, why don't you know a little bit more about what this is? Went and had sushi, ordered sake. Right, so I said, "This is the little bottle of sake, the small bottle of sake." And the guy went, "We have the big bottle of sake." And I said, "Oh, we don't have the small bottle of sake?" And he said, "No. We just have the big bottle of sake, like the full bottle of sake." And I
For the
said,
table.
Was he talking about the actual bottle versus how it's served?
Yeah. So I kept going. But you don't have that. You don't have like a small bottle of. So we're not going to drink all that sake. We have the big bottle. Oh, okay.
Can it be poured into a smaller container?
Look down at the menu. It's got the two sake sizes, right? It's like at the $13 one /26, and we're like, well, the 13. What is that? That's a crap. It's a little one.
Yeah.
That's so Seinfeld. We don't have big bowls.
Okay, you couldn't have. You work here all the time. There's not a logical extension. Yes, I said the word bottle. I shouldn't have said crap.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But I kept saying the little bottle.
Yeah.
The little one. I was like, we don't have that.
They do make little bottles, and I'm guessing that's what he was thinking, but he should have known that you were asking between sizes. And
I don't collect and trade sake bottles. It will take the same.
You got
11 ounces in a
But even if he didn't know, he could still say, "Well, we don't have the little bottle, but we could give you the half carafe." I mean,
he literally just held his
ways
hands 16 inches apart. But this is all we got.
All right.
He was upselling. He was trying to get a bigger tip. You got to do that.
All right, what do you got
It's all
next,
part of it. Well, speaking of restaurants, so there's been this big movement / meme the last few weeks. We are closed, all caps, because in April, a TikTok user posted a video of her pulling into a McDonald's drive-thru, and there was a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that says, "We are short-staffed. Please be patient." With the staff that did show up, nobody wants to work anymore. and this thing went.
Be honest.
Yeah, this went viral, and a lot of people were kind of, and then a lot of people caught on to where other restaurants started doing this. There was a Sonic somewhere that did this as well. It's the same thing. We are short-staffed. Please be patient. No one wants to work anymore. And this thing now, a lot of restaurants started doing this, not just fast food places. And it became more apparent to a lot of the people on Twitter that, okay, is this the staff's problem, or is this like the CEO and the people who in the higher up is it their problem?
CEO.
Like, well, a lot of people are like posting pictures of CEOs with all the money bags. Like, oh yeah, who really doesn't want to work anymore? Why don't you guys get behind the fryers and work? And the former Secretary of Labor, Robert Reich, he even tweeted, "Let's get one thing straight. There is no labor shortage. There is a shortage of employers willing to pay their workers a living wage. Instead of, no one wants to work anymore, try, no one wants to be exploited anymore." And yeah, so a lot of people are saying that, like, they're not getting paid. Like, some places have minimum wage that are like $2.15.
Is that true? Oh,
because
of the tips.
Because of the tips and everything.
Sure.
Yeah, so like that's how much they're making an hour. So it just put that into the spotlight of, do people not want to work anymore? Or are they just not getting paid enough? And they, like, I know people even here in California who worked at restaurants still don't want to go back to work because they're making more from unemployment. They're making more from not going into work. Hotels, things like that. They don't want to go back to work.
Well, I have thoughts. One is, as far as Robert Reich goes, you can't ask how much or what. You have to ask, when did it change? What has caused the change? This didn't exist a year ago. Why does it exist now? Or 5 years ago? Like, what has happened? And the government giving these people money is obviously the causation of this. You can go, is it right or is it wrong? But the change happened when they started paying change to these people to stay home. So there's number one. Number two, the thing, like, we get in these arguments all the time. Like, the Uber drivers, these guys are day players and they should unionize or whatever. I got a pretty simple bottom line here. You don't fucking have to do anything you don't want to fucking do. When I was poor, I went down to the brass rail, the Nordstrom's brass rail. I had a friend named Mark who was the shoe king of the brass rail.
What's brass rail?
Shoe Mark?
I don't even know what it's like within Nordstrom.
It's like the young men's section. I think it's called the Rail. Actually,
gotcha.
It used to be the Brass Rail.
It's a bit wordy.
And acronym felt.
We focus tested.
So I went down there because I was always working as a freelance carpenter, but I never had a actual job. And when you don't, I would work freelance jobs all over the place. And, it would be back. Basically, my job was, Bald Brian would call me over to his house and tell me, like, well, we want to fix the fence in the back. And we want to
use them
want to put and then Christy would cut the check, obviously, but Brian would make the phone call.
I would physically write it, but it'd be from Christy's account.
Right. She would sign the check, obviously. So I would go over there, and you'd want a doggy door put in your back door. You'd want some little structure built around your barbecue or whatever. I would do that. I would do kitchens, bathrooms, or whatever. But I was just kind of catch as catch can. And you guys, what people don't really realize is you can survive off that money, and I survived off of that money like any other poor person. Had my apartment, my roommate, my truck, and stuff like that. But what you can't do is anything official.
Yeah.
So I would see. Well, not that. Well, there's that, but then there's this part. I yearned for a new truck, something that had air conditioning and a stereo, or just something new. And I was driving all these old beaters because all I could do is drive trucks that I could pay cash for in the recycler, $1,300. But I would be tortured because I would open the newspaper and I'd see, like, in the back of the sports page or something, they'd have like Studio City Nissan's got Nissan King Cab pickup trucks,
verify your employment.
$99 down and $99 a month. You can drive a brand new truck or
For
whatever.
Qualified applicants.
Whatever it was, but I didn't have any paperwork.
Yeah. Right.
I could have easily, and that was just a teaser deal, but I could have gone and put $1,000 down and paid $189 a month. I could have swung it, but they would never have let me swung it because I didn't really exist on paper with pay stubs and stuff like that.
Please don't act like you don't know this is the premise to Magic Mike, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yes. You can't get a loan because it's a cash business.
I didn't have this.
Oh,
what?
Sure.
Seen the movie 7 times. Never had the sound up.
And no,
there was dialogue.
I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
So what's he to do? He can't start his new business because no one will give him a loan because it's all dollars in his G-string. Go ahead.
So my friend Mark, who was the king of shoes at the then Brass Rail, Nordstrom and Northridge,
I doubt the king of shoes resides in Northridge.
He said, that's what he said. Who was I to question him?
Hiding in plain sight.
So he then said his maintenance guy, the guy who was in charge of all the maintenance for this big department store, whose name was Tom Collins, by the way.
Oh, delicious.
So he was looking for a guy. He was looking for like a helper guy, and he was looking for a helper guy Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I would be like on the books.
Yeah.
So I could count on $300 a week, and I'd have this schedule, and I'd have this day off and that day off to do my own side work or do my groundlings or whatever it is. And I was like, that's what I need. I need that's like steady income. And so, like, I went down there and, like, interviewed with the guy and, told him I was a carpenter, and we walked around the store a little and showed me the back and blah, blah, blah. And then I went home and I was going to wait for him to call me. And I just sat there and I thought, if he's talking $13 an hour, I am all fucking in.
Oh, yeah. Circa 1990.
And we didn't discuss any kind of price. But I said, if he's talking about $11 an hour, I can't do it. It's out in Northridge, taxes taken out. I don't think it's going to work. So I just sat in my apartment in North Hollywood waiting for the guy to call. And the guy called, and he's like, it's Tom Collins. And I laughed. And then he said, I'm prepared to offer you the job. You seem pretty qualified. You know what you're doing. And I'm prepared to offer you $12 an hour.
And
I was
what do you do?
Of course.
I was like, God damn, of course, it's right on the Mason-Dixon line. Right.
Asking for $1 more doesn't seem like, tough negotiation.
Have you seen? He has no confidence.
It wasn't in me. I just that's the offer he just made.
Yeah.
He just offered $12 an hour. And I kind of said it's a hard no to 11 and a excited yes to 13. And I just sat there. And I can't remember if I called him back or I just told him in real time. I just went, no, can't do it. It's just not worth the drive out to Northridge, 3 days a week from North Hollywood. But the reason I bring that story up and I illustrate that is I got to decide whether I want to fucking go do it or not. Like he could have went, I'm going to offer you slave wages, $2.21 an hour. And I would have went, fuck no. Or maybe Bernie Sanders could have got me $25 an hour, and then I would have went, fuck yeah, which probably he wouldn't have been happy about. But either way, you have dominion over your own fucking life. If that guy's, if you don't want to drive Uber, don't drive Uber. By all fucking means. I don't drive Uber. It's not worth it for me to drive Uber. I wouldn't have had a car that qualified, but in the past, I would have driven. Yeah. I would have done it.
Uber Z.
Yeah. People don't, hop in the bed. People don't, politicians and people on both sides of the aisle, they don't really factor in the part where you don't fucking have to do that. And the system works out. I mean, I think, like I always said, the In-N-Out burger we passed on the Fisherman's Wharf was like $19 an hour because that's how much it would take to get people to do there. The problem is the government giving money to people's now confounded the system.
Yeah.
You got in between the
employer,
the In-N-Out in Norco probably wasn't paying what the In-N-Out on the Fisherman's Wharf was paying, but that was a business decision between the people who lived in that area and the people that ran the thing. Now, if you're gonna start cutting checks from the government, then it's going to confound this system.
Yeah, and that makes me, you're talking about career waiters. It makes me think of, I think it was John and Ken. I'm sure they've talked about it more than once, but it's like these fast food type jobs were never meant to be career positions.
No, that's the other thing they never talk about. I worked at McDonald's between the 10th and the 11th grade for like one summer. That you're supposed to go there, be miserable, and figure out a way to never do that again. And then also, as it pertains to this subject, you hear a lot of politicians going, people want to, Joe Biden was like, people want to work. They want to work. I agree. People do want to work, not at McDonald's. That's kind of the thing. Like, I want to work. I have a career. You have a career. You want to work. Sean at the other shop wants to show up and work. He has a skill. But if you're talking about just flipping burgers or bringing them, cleaning out plastic trays and dumping them in the tray, no, nobody wants to do that. And so this notion of like, you couldn't get Mark Garagos to stay home with government money. But you could have got me to stay home with government money when I was 19, when the alternative was emptying garbage cans at the Arby's. All right. Those are my thoughts.
Well, so after this movement, though, there's actually a restaurant in San Francisco that I want to talk about called Zazie, Z-A-Z-I-E. And on the heels of March Madness.
It's an acronym.
Yeah. In a nice endorsement, Chris asked me when I walked in, he's like, you ever been there? I'm like, no, but thank you for asking.
Yeah.
That's a really nice endorsement.
On the heels of March Madness and waiters and tipping taking home the championship, Zazie tried something new. So they are now tip-free. So they put that on their menu. It says, Zazie is proud to be tip-free. Our menu prices include a living wage, profit sharing, fully funded health and dental insurance, paid sick leave, and a 401k with employer match for all of our hardworking employees. So no tipping.
Enjoy your $72 burger.
Exactly. Well, so what they did,
Caitlyn Jenner's tip.
they increased all of their menu items by about 20%.
Yeah.
And they're taking that 20% and they're divvying it up between the front of house and back of house staff. So I think the front of house gets 11%, and then it's just distributed that way. So it's almost like a 20% gratuity, but distributed to the staff evenly or almost evenly. And there have been no complaints so far. Some customers said they expected to see like sticker shock, but the menu still looked reasonable. And this might be the way we
Fine
do
with
things.
It's funny because I've been listening to, and I know it sounds so basic, bitch, but I've been listening to a couple like wedding podcasts and stuff because like it's exciting.
Oh
I
my
like to
God.
get tips and shit. There's this one called Bride Chilla who I really like,
Send me
but
the
she's in Australia and she's so funny because she'll say like tipping. There was a subject on tipping vendors, and she says for anyone outside of America, I know this sounds weird. This is an odd subject to even be having, but I'm talking about this for the American audience because nobody else does this.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's
That's
just
the
part of
thing
our
about the
culture.
foreign, tourists.
Right.
No server wants to get that table.
Right.
Yeah.
The old
I
cliche.
always thought it was kind of a ruse where the guy who owned the restaurant just went, well, we don't really pay our waiters and
Oh,
waitresses, but you
it's
do.
brilliant.
Like, what other business works that way?
Yeah.
Like I said, the guy at the Home Depot's running around helping you out. He never gets a tip. Although Bonaducci jumped in and said he always tips him. That's when I knew he didn't go to the Groundlings. But the point is I'm fine with this if it works out. And I think people go, well, I like tipping because I like to incentivize the person to work harder. But I don't know. Like I said, you go get your tires rotated. You don't tip the
Yeah.
guy. He works. Be professional.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
incentive? You're at work. Work. Yeah, I'm fine with it. And also sometimes the tipping can get a little expensive because you always try to round it up a little bit. Sometimes
You don't want to get shamed by the people you're going to dinner with.
yes,
yeah.
In your case.
yes. So I hope Zazy's experiment works out.
Me too. All right, so let's move on to gas prices and what everybody and gas hoarding actually. So one thing that Adam and I always like to do when we travel is check out the gas prices
Sure.
and cry about how less expensive they are. And I mean, right now in California, it's pretty bad. I drive a Prius and I might as well be driving like a G-Wagon.
Yeah, it's like $4.20, I would say.
Yeah,
And up.
Yeah.
and up, yeah. So, but now, obviously, because of the cyber attack to the Colonial Pipeline in the East Coast and dealing with all of their gas, people are starting to stash their gas in bags and containers. I'm sure you've seen these pictures
In plastic
online.
bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could see Caitlin just
Wow.
sifting through a few of these pictures here. But yeah, they're just whatever they can fit gasoline in,
Tub.
they are loading it in their Tupperware. Like,
Tupperware.
yeah, so it's.
Wait,
yeah, I know.
We're looking at a hamper with holes in the side of
in
it.
it.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, and a lot of this doesn't make sense. I mean, there's a Hummer that caught on fire in Florida because they're hoarding gas. Yeah, so
Hummer, though.
I think we should just do a
Definitely
PSA.
not at you.
Gasoline is flammable, everybody, please.
So when Fauci says things like, go ahead. When Fauci says things like, you're on the honor system, this is the ilk of people who are on the honor system.
Yeah, I guess it was a Russian pipeline hack.
And
Yeah.
the Colonial shut it down. They shut it down, right, to
Yeah.
stop the attack.
Right.
It's not like the hackers.
And then they
were able
paid
to-
$5 million, so I heard,
Yeah, and
to the hackers.
so and like they're in DC, like they're like Facebook posts, like, does anybody have any gas they can share? Like it was really bad out there, like, and it still is. Like, and obviously we're seeing it on our end as far as prices go. And I had a weird thing that happened to me at the gas station the other day. So I went and got gas, and this girl walks up to me and she's like, "Can you help me?"
Oh, boy.
I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What's going on?" And she's like,
It's a sting operation, Chris. Run.
She's like,
Hey, cutie.
I'm from Portland and I've never pumped my own gas.
Oh,
Can
that's
you
great.
teach me how to
That's
do
great.
this?
That's hysterical.
Yeah, and I had to teach a girl how to pump her own gas.
That's New Jersey too. You
New
can't
Jersey
pump
and
your own
Portland,
gas.
yeah, or I
Oh
mean
my
Oregon, yeah,
God.
yeah. So she's never done it, and I had to show her.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
so felt pretty good teaching somebody that.
I had a great moment at the gas station no more than an hour ago on the way to the show. I stopped at the station, the mobile station right down the street, and I grabbed the paper towel, right, the one that's right there to grab a hold of the thing and pump the gas. And my move is I leave the paper towel in the handle, right, so I can just grab it and put it back when I'm done. However, breezy day, the wind blows it away, and I'm like, shit. So I have to go around my car, go pick it up off the ground, and there's a guy standing right at the opposite pump, right around the pump, and he looks at me and he goes, 99% of people would just let it go. I'm like, that's right. 99% would.
All right.
1% didn't.
Wait till he's seen you with a bathroom stall and a urinal.
They were letting it
That's
go.
right. Hero picking up paper everywhere.
It's good.
Yeah.
That acknowledgement
But it was-
is nice.
I wouldn't have mentioned it if the guy hadn't said it because it was like so satisfying. You know what I mean? It's like, someone witnessed it.
All right, one more, Max.
All right, let's talk about Tony Hinchcliffe. He's a comedian. He was a comedy store regular. He's one of Joe Rogan's guys, and he moved out to Austin when Joe moved out to Austin and kind of told all his comedian friends to move out here. So what happened was he was performing at a club in Austin.
They froze to death.
And there was a comedian named Peng Dang, who Asian comedian, if you weren't able to figure that out, and he brought up Tony, and we'll just play the video of what exactly happened. So it's pretty short, and you can see how Tony.
I bet this is super comfortable.
Yeah, this will be very comfortable. Here we go.
Give it up for the one and only Tony Hinchcliffe.
So he brings up Tony. They're just fast forwarding.
Hello, good evening, welcome, hello. How about one more time for the filthy little fucking chink that was just up here?
Oh my.
All you fucking race traders are hooping and hollering. I'm back there watching you, puking in a fucking bucket. Oh, we making a gunpowder. Oh, you want extra soy sauce. Oh, you borrow money from us. And you guys just eating it up, you fucking pussy.
Pussies is where it got off. So what happened was Peng posted that clip on his Twitter. Like, I brought up Tony Hinchcliffe. This is how he introduced his set. And he was really, obviously Peng was really upset and was obviously with all the Asian hate and Asian discrimination and things like that I talked about last time going on. So Tony got dropped by William Morris Agency.
Oh.
He's obviously getting canceled, getting thrown in the cornfield.
He was doing a bit, obviously.
He was doing a bit. See, that's the thing, and this is where we kind of get into context really matters. So that was the video that everybody saw, that millions of people saw online. But what really happened was Tony went up, and Ari Shaffir posted the entire set of Peng and Tony, so you could just see the entire thing in context on his YouTube channel. It's like 25 minutes long. It's a good watch. And Peng was very funny, but when Tony came up, all of those impressions were callbacks to Peng's set, which nobody saw.
But Peng was still obviously offended because he was
very offended. And so what happened was one of Peng's final jokes was like, "Please be nice to us Asians." That's all he asked. Please be nice. And then Tony comes up and says that
gives it to you with both barrels.
Yeah, so like to show like it's contrast, and there's the humor in that.
He was going for an angle. Obviously.
Yeah, so
calling race traders and everything was obviously over the top. You know,
was he attacking the crowd?
He was, yeah. So another thing is Tony was doing a guest spot. So this was actually Peng's audience, and everybody else's audience. I mean, who was on the bill. So Tony wasn't even announced. So Tony went up, and which just the entire set was him making fun of the crowd and saying, "You guys, you're laughing at all these Asian jokes here," and he's kind of talking shit to them. But it obviously didn't show in that. So I'm an Asian guy. I think I can speak on this.
Yeah, please, but for all.
Yeah, I think context totally matters. And like I edit a lot of Adam's Unprepared clips, and there's some ones that gets huge laughs, but because you need to hear what happened earlier on the show in order to understand that. And we can't play those as standalone clips. And it's things like that where you really have to just see the whole set to fully understand what's going on.
Adam, what do you think about that? Taking the shears to your material?
Yeah. Hacking it up, cutting it up like your origami.
Chop
that
suey.
You people love so much, or your suey. You can never stop chopping.
I'm posting this on my Twitter.
Stop chopping.
Could just call it suey, but you guys couldn't leave it at that, could you? Stand-up is stand-up. Comedy's comedy. You're allowed to do whatever you want. I don't get why we're putting them under the jeweler's loop.
But this is the interesting thing. This is the guy who was there for the whole thing, who was on stage making the jokes, bringing up the other guy was offended.
Well, it's so here's the thing. I've had comedians bring me up, I've had comedians come up after me and talk shit about my act or say something about my act. It's a weird, to me, it feels like a Geneva Convention kind of thing. Like you just don't get up there and get into the other person's act. But I've certainly had it happen to me.
He's too tall. He's too rich.
Yeah, man. I don't good looks. The whole thing. You've heard it all.
Yeah.
You've heard it all. But so in general, it's sort of I feel that there are some conventions and stand-up, like there should be some rules. Like, you can have war, but you don't get to use mustard gas. You know what I mean? You could have a little roast battle, but when the other person relinquishes the microphone, like, if you want to get up and get into it, like a heckler situation or two comedians or a roast battle or something, that's fine. Once the other person hands you the microphone and then leaves, you're not really allowed to tear their act a new asshole because they can't respond to it. So in general, I would just call it bad form.
Yeah.
But it's kind of between the two comedians and the audience. It's not really, William Morris doesn't need to get involved. It's they can settle their differences or not. We all don't need to weigh in on what's going on inside comedy clubs where, let's face it, half the comedians have had a couple of pops like backstage. It's that environment.
Yeah. And in these shows, they're working things out. They're trying it. So the fact that it gets posted online, it gets millions of views when you're just, I mean, obviously he wasn't working on those Asian things.
He's been developing that bit for a while.
But I mean, like, it's just like, it's dangerous to keep posting stuff that comedians are working out. Like, it's bad form.
And people aren't really doing the character thing anymore. That used to be Amy Schumer's whole thing, and she has completely abandoned it.
Oh, the Asian character thing?
Well, just like the alternate like Amy Schumer, the kind of like out of it ditzy racist character that she would do for an hour. She doesn't do that character anymore, as her stand-up set. And people are just abandoning that outright. So I think, just as someone who listens to a lot of comedy, it's just kind of passé to do that sort of thing.
All right. Well, Bethenny Frankel's on Zoom. And yes, let's treat our Asian brother and sisters a little better. Thanks, Max Patton.
Thanks,
guys.
Now go pump the round eyes gas, bitch.
Okay.
Can't even call him his real name.
Max his real name's Laxamana.
I know that outro. I was just setting the table. All right. Hyundai Tucson. Hyundai questioned everything to create the best Tucson ever. Every inch of the all-new Tucson has been completely reimagined, resulting in an SUV loaded with innovations inside and out. If you're looking at a Range Rover, God bless you. But if you're looking for something on a budget, but you want all that technology, and by the way, it's a good size. Tucson's a good size for a entry-level SUV. It is a good price and a good size. Like I said, Mike and I sat in that thing for an hour, and we were just totally impressed. They have digital key, allows you to use your phone as a spare key, has the 10 1/4 inch full touch infotainment system, LED daytime running lights, stylishly hidden in the front grille. It is a nice piece. You can learn more at Hyundai.com. That's Hyundai.com. All right, one of my favorites. Bethenny Frankel is going to join us, and we'll talk to her right after this.
Do you want to be a part of Adam's next book?
Shit, yeah!
Submit your questions for Ask an Asshole by emailing them to askhole@adamcarolla.com. Ask about any topic you need the Ace Man's advice or answers on. That's ASKHOLE@adamcarolla.com.
Bethenny Frankel is our guest. She's a TV personality and author and entrepreneur. Has a new reality competition show called The Big Shot with Bethenny. It's available now on HBO Max, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that. Real Housewife of New York City. From 2008 to 2010, then 2015 to 2019, and of course this Skinny Girl brand of liquor as well. Good to see you, Bethenny.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. I think I watched almost every episode of Real Housewives from the first season. Were you guys the first season?
Second, I think.
I was first season, yes. It's surprising to me. You interviewed me years ago on, I think, a TV show. I mean, a long time ago in the very beginning. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, I think you did. And I remember enjoying it. I was excited because I need to give you the street cred of being so early in the podcast space, because when I went to meet with, I don't think it was called Podcast One. Was it Westward One? Somebody in LA. I went to meet with it.
Yeah, Westward One became Podcast One.
Okay, so I went to meet these guys there in the office, and I said, like, can you make, real money here? Can you make real money doing this? I didn't understand exactly what a podcast was for me and what it entailed. It was a while ago. It was in the beginning for you. But he was like, Adam Carolla is crushing it. He is our number one guy. And I just remember thinking that you were at, the benchmark. So that was a while ago. So you're a dinosaur in this, or really what's
genre?
A maverick. A maverick.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. But enough about me.
Okay. Well, I don't like. Okay. Great.
Let's talk about you. We'll get into the competition show in a minute. I'm looking down on your career facts on your bio here. It said moved to Los Angeles in '92 and worked as a nanny to Paris Hilton and assistant to Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yep. I worked for Jerry and Linda Bruckheimer. I worked for Kathy Hilton. I worked for Lauren Michaels' company and Mark Berg's company. For some reason, unless everybody in LA just works for somebody who becomes something or becomes more of something, I was lucky. I just fell into interesting places. My first real job was at La Scala, working as a hostess where they invented the chopped salad.
Oh.
So through that restaurant, I ended up meeting a lot of these people.
That is a great chopped salad, by the way.
Right?
I love it.
Did you get salami or did you get chicken?
It's funny. I got the chickpea and I think I added turkey, but I got it for free, which they don't do anymore for employees. It was like a $25 salad. I would get everything on it. And that would be my big meal for the day because I was broke, making $8 an hour.
There's a pretty high batting average for people who were assistants or APs or lower level, whatever. I know it from doing the Man Show 20 years ago that I find like I have pitch meetings or something and like you're going to go to ABC and you're going to meet with the head of reality and you walk in there and it's a guy who drove the van on the Man Show and now I got to kiss that guy's ass. Ugh.
But by the way, is that not such a lesson? Exactly. All the guys that I knew that were assistants or junior agents, I mean, major guys now, Patrick Weitzel from Endeavor, Guy Kosinski who managed Angelina Jolie, Todd Garner, all of them, Kevin Mitchell, they've all run, Scott Stuber, they all run studios. All these were people in my crew, but we were all nobodies.
Yeah, that's why you should be nice to everyone around on the off chance that you may need a job from them one day. Yeah, I know.
Or just be consistent because I know people who sort of treated me, fine. They didn't kiss my ass then. It's worse when those same people who are rude to me kiss my ass now. If people were sort of rude and they're still rude, I respect it more. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
It's at least genuine, consistent.
No, it's authenticity. Like I like this version of Rosie O'Donnell better than the fake version of Rosie O'Donnell, even though the fake version was the nice version.
Right. Exactly. Well, then you'd like the every version of me because it's not always popular the things I say, and I don't ever want to be sanitized. I'd rather be canceled than diluted. And I liked your conversation earlier very much because I was thinking about, so movies now don't, people aren't smoking in movies and people don't say inappropriate things in movies anymore, but movies reflect people and people still say inappropriate things and people still smoke. So now movies aren't portraying real situations and often stand-up comics are not just playing a character, but they're not always telling the truth. They embellish stories. But they're getting in trouble for things they said within an embellishment. So I think that's a lot of gray.
Yeah, I've had these arguments my whole career. I remember I was trying to do some sketch over at Jimmy Kimmel Live, maybe in season 1 or season 2, must have been, 18 years ago or something. And we had this thing that we're going to shoot, and there was a French whore. And she was in the alley, and then I don't know who the guest part was. I can't remember all the nuts and the bolts, but I remember clearly that the French whore, who was done up like a turn of the century French whore, standing there.
And can you say French whore? Well, isn't it like vaginal professional? I mean, can't because I don't know if you can say. I mean, maybe now. Oh, that's slut shame, whore shame.
She was smoking. She was supposed to be smoking, and the network's like, she can't smoke. And I'm like, why can't a French whore smoke? She's like, because we don't want cigarette. And then like, you're not glorifying cigarettes. Right. And they're like, yeah, no smoking. And I would always say, are you willing to admit that some people smoke? Because if they are willing to admit some people smoke, then you could have somebody smoking. She's not glorifying smoking. She's just a French whore who should be smoking. It was a big argument that I lost. But brings us back to what you just said, this thing of like we're trying to shape everything by going back and editing books and Disney movies and stuff like that. It doesn't feel like it's going to end well. That's all I'm saying.
Because look what happens, well, I don't want to get in trouble with the Catholic Church, but, from if anybody refrains themselves from eating everything that they like, all of a sudden they're going to binge and go overboard. Every celebrity that paints himself into this perfect woke corner ends up making some crazy hypocritical error because it's unsustainable. So you're better off just sort of I've said I'm always on the verge of being canceled, but I'm always on the, never on the verge of being not myself. It's really gross watching all these celebrities just be so shiny and filtered and perfect, and everything they say is politically correct, and everything they fight for is, and I don't know everything, and I can't keep up with everything. I could say something wrong because I don't know what I've said. We're not all supposed to be experts on every single piece of terminology.
Well, and life's a lot easier that way, right? Like they said, it's so hard to remember all your lies. It's just easier to be honest. It's so hard.
True.
It's so much easier just to be you. Then you really don't have to think.
Right.
And also, it evolves from the language evolves so fast. Like who can keep up? You go from Mexican to Hispanic to Latino to Latinx now, like and Chicano. Chicano was the Latinx of the 1970s.
Right. Yeah.
They tried to pitch Chicano pretty hard, and it didn't really totally catch on.
Or you can't say Oriental. When we were growing up, you were saying Oriental, and kids used to say bum, not homeless. That's what kids would say. I mean, there are things that just change that you're just absolutely not allowed to say. But it's not only the words. What about for Cinco de Mayo? You're not allowed to post like a sombrero. Are you allowed to post maracas or a margarita or tortilla chips? Is that, I literally don't know. So you're just like, forget it. It's over. Christmas is canceled. So is Cinco de Mayo. I don't know what to post.
There's that huge thing. Maybe it was at Harvard. It's probably been about 4 or 5 years now, where some professor and his wife just sort of said, look, it's Halloween. Right. You want to wear a sombrero, wear a sombrero. Like, we're not going to judge. And all the students turned on him and started going nuts on the progressive couple that just went, I'll give you a mulligan. Right. If you want to dress up like a leprechaun, go ahead. No one's gonna judge. Yeah, it was Yale 2015, and they all went fucking bonkers on that couple. I don't know. Maybe it's just a high misery index. Maybe everyone under 30 is just fucking miserable now, and that's the way they express it. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. Everyone under 30 is on my show, trying to get a job working for me. So that might be why it's a challenging prospect.
How are they? How do you notice a difference between the younger generation work ethic and things like that versus
the problem is we're now those people saying that, like, unless the world explodes and then we can blame it on everybody younger than us, you know what I mean? It's sort of like the music and TikTok. You want to get my daughter like a stripper pole for her 11th birthday because of TikTok, but then people can argue that back in the day, Madonna had like cones on her breasts, but it wasn't as constant. It wasn't 24 hours a day. So I will say that the crop of people that I saw in the beginning of this show interviewing to be the vice president of operations for my company, which is legit. It's a legit company. It's not, it's not Yahoo, but it's a legit company. I was thinking this is a bunch of clowns. It's not possible that any of them would be able to do this. It's just they're more worried about their wardrobe and what they're posting, and everybody thinks that social media equals success. You post something great, you can become famous and become successful and make money out of it. That's work. And my feeling is it doesn't matter whether it's now or 50 years ago, hard work equals success. Period. Story and film at 11. There's no shortcut. You can't filter your way out of it. So I find that people that I experience don't have that same hunger. When I worked for Kathy Hilton, I never thought of counting an hour or when lunch was or when my break was or when my Christmas break. You just worked your ass off. You're working for Jerry Bruckheimer. I was sorting vitamins for him and sitting in the movie seat until he got there to let him sit in his movie seat. I mean, you just did it all because you just were psyched to have a job. So where are those people that are hungry like that versus worrying about everything I'm going to say that's inappropriate and calling me out for it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've had a problem with the self-esteem movement. I think it's completely backfired, because the self-esteem movement has kind of hijacked the hierarchy. So there needs to be a general and a private. It's an army. There needs to be a boss and a greenhorn, an underling, whoever. There needs to be a sort of a pecking order. And what I've realized, one of the things that has gone the way that Dodo is this hierarchy, not having this understanding. It's funny. I was thinking about it just this morning when about 10 years ago, somebody dropped off, what was it, 6, 8, 10 cases of high-end beer, like good-ass microbrew beer. And it was on a pallet, like in the back of my shop. And I was leaving for the day, and I remember looking at it, and I remember going, oh, there's some good beer in there. I'm going to get in on some of that. And then the next day I showed up, and it was gone. And I thought, some hardworking upstart employee must have moved it all into the storage closet or something. I'm going to give that person a boy. And as it turns out, everyone just took a case home for themselves and didn't discuss it with me. And I thought, that's a new world. That's a new thing that didn't exist.
That's called entitlement.
It's something.
It's not called entitlement. Like that's entitlement to me.
Well, in a weird way, it's like when I had my 19-year-old nephew try to come work for me a couple of years ago. Part of me wanted to blame him for showing up half the time and writing me a letter why it was an unsafe workplace when he left. But the other part of me, other part is like when you see cultures. Certain cultures like eat with their hands, and you go, "Why don't you use a spork, dude?" And they go, "That's their culture. Like that's what they grew up in. That's what they know." That's the insidious part. Like it's the culture. It's not really the individual who goes, "I'm doing my own rogue move here." Right. That's how they roll now.
Well, that's what's funny because, we always say, you don't coddle kids in school because when they go into the real world, it's not like that. Well, guess what? And a lot of these, besides here and at Bethenny's, a lot of these places are having to bend for these kids. So it's like, which is it?
Interesting. I was watching the documentary last night on Ethel Kennedy. And they were saying that for her, she was very competitive. And with all 11 kids, it was called winning. That's it. There's no, you get a medal. Doesn't matter if you tried, you win. Now, and the Kennedys were exactly the same way. And they were all arguably very successful, very unlucky in many ways, but very successful. And I'm not for every kid getting a medal. And really, no, life isn't like that. If you want to be average, if you want to be sort of above average, maybe it's like that. If you want to be extraordinary or exceptional, it doesn't matter if you're in 50 years from now or 50 years ago. You got to work your ass off. But most people don't. So I find that inspiring for certain people because you could say to someone poor right now with no job after the pandemic, listen to me. You're passionate, driven, have a good gut instinct, and you work your ass off properly, you will be successful because most people do not do that.
Well, as I think about my soon-to-be 15-year-old twins, in this world of entitlement and self-esteem and attitude, it's going to leave a big opening for anyone who wants to do what you just said. Mm-hmm. Any young person who wants to just show up early and often and kick ass. And you forget about special skills or talents, just being really focused and being ready to work. Well, you will stand out. So when I worked, when I was 19 and looking for a job, I ended up on a construction site, but I ended up on a construction site with a bunch of other 19-year-olds who worked their ass off. Mm-hmm. So I didn't, I was consistent. I dug ditches. Like I worked hard and the boss saw that I worked hard, but I wasn't working so much harder than the other 19-year-olds who were busting their hump. Now, if those guys were sitting around hitting off a vape pen and checking their tweets, and I was still in the ditch digging, then there would have been an even bigger chasm there. And I think we're at that spot now. Like, if you can just muster the intestinal fortitude just to work hard, you will stand out in this day and age.
So smart what you just said, because the person who comes in is like, don't worry about it. If I don't know it, I'll figure it out. I'm on it. I got you. That's the whole thing. Just someone who's like, you want to say to them, I don't care how the sausage gets made, just bring me the sausage. If I tell you to do it, I promise you it's possible, and figure it out. And that's kind of what you're talking about. And people who work smart, not just who are moving papers around the desk pretending they're busy. Everyone's so busy. People who work smart. Yeah, I agree with you. I think, but it's comforting to those who know that they have that drive because they can thrive, because most people don't do that.
Well, it's kind of interesting. And speaking to the New World Order, do we ever look at that CIA recruitment commercial? Dawson's probably familiar with it. Do we ever look at that on this show? No. It's if you want to talk about the world changing, I think it was CIA. It was a new recruitment commercial that the CIA put out about 2 weeks ago, or I think I was in Appleton, Wisconsin. Anyway, we'll show you that if you want to know how the world's changed. Wow. We're talking about the CIA in a recruitment video. But
yeah,
I will.
This isn't the be all you can be army.
No,
okay.
this is very, very, very different than what your dad's CIA recruit. Your dad's CIA would have shown a guy rappelling from a helicopter and taking out a guard with a throwing star. This is a little different recruitment. I'll let him find it, but it is interesting when people are doing job interviews. Here's totally right. You're doing a job interview, you just go in and go, I'll work my ass off. I'm going to be of service. I've noticed a lot of job interviews now, they tell you, like, they'll come in and they'll go, I need 2 weeks off in July because I'm going to a wedding in the Virgin Islands. So I will not. So just, if you hire me, just know now, circle it on your calendar. And let me tell you where I'm not going to be. Here, if you hire me. Also, here are my dietetic restrictions, and here's who I'm on the spectrum. And so be prepared for this. And I'm like, you don't go into a job interview and give a list of demands of time off and dietetic restrictions. Did this just happen to you?
No, it just happened to me where someone said to me that they don't work weekends ever because they have a farmhouse.
Oh, must be nice.
Someone who works as a domestic professional in my life said that they can't work on any weekends ever, even though this is part of the job description, because they have to go to their farmhouse. And then someone when being interviewed did exactly what you said. In July, I like to go see my family. And it's like, at least play the game. We don't need to be talking about vacation. I don't know what my vacation is. I don't have the luxury of figuring out what my vacation is in July. 0.0 idea. The limitations. Limitations immediately.
I was at a barbecue with a middle-aged guy who was a partner at a law firm. And I don't think young employees or young lawyers or young whoever's really understand how much it sticks in the craw of their older employer when they say things like, Jimmy will tell me things like, oh, that guy said he couldn't do this because blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's low-level people. Right. Like, it sticks with them. And this...
Wait, I don't get it. Say it again.
The things that people say, like, I don't work weekends, as if it's nothing. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I'm throwing these things away. And this senior attorney, this guy who is a partner at a law firm, even though we're at a barbecue drinking a beer, was like, I got a 27-year-old associate. He's on vacation right now for 2 weeks. And he said to me, don't bother calling. Like, I don't care what the situation is. I will not be answering my phone. And this guy is like, I always have my phone on me. That's part of the job. And he was like, this guy's never making partner. Never. Right. He uttered those words. He didn't have to utter those words. He could have brought his phone and just not picked it up or whatever.
That's a great point, too.
Said I was hiking. I was out of range. We're on the top of a mountain. But he made it super clear to this guy who was a made man at the law firm that don't ever think about me working. I'm gone for 2 weeks and don't bother calling. And this guy thought to himself, I don't care how good that guy is when he comes back. He's never making partner here.
I have to tell you guys, this is here to stay, at least as long as this economy is good, because my wife, her industry is very competitive right now for hiring. Like, people are getting hired, poached, across all different companies.
Headhunted, yeah.
And one of the biggest thing they find when it comes to people who are taking other jobs or leaving for other jobs or deciding between jobs is flex time and working from home. Like, personal time, I need to be home so many days a week. I need to be in the office so many days a week. This is the number one thing when it comes to recruitment now. So this is here to stay.
You mean as a temptation?
As your criteria for temptation.
Yeah.
We have the FBI. It is the FBI. CIA. Sorry, the CIA recruitment video from, I think it's about 2 weeks old, but I think you guys will get a kick out of this.
I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional, but my existence is not a box-checking exercise.
Wow.
I am a walking declaration. A woman whose inflection does not rise at the end of her sentences, suggesting that a question has been asked. I did not sneak into CIA. My employment was not and is not the result of a fluke or slip through the cracks. I earned my way in, and I earned my way up the ranks of this organization. I am educated, qualified, and competent, and sometimes I struggle. I struggle feeling like I could do more, be more to my 2 sons, and I struggle leaving the office when I feel there's so much more to do. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, but at 36, I refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be. I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather than intoxicate people with my effort, my brilliance. I am proud of me, full stop. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA. I am unapologetically me. I want you to be unapologetically you, whoever you are. Know your worth. Command your space. Mija, you're worth it.
Mija.
This is interesting because if it said at the end of that, tampons, unapologetically you, I'd be like, great, Tampax commercial. But this was a very confusing CIA commercial.
Dawson, you have a take?
Yeah, I talked
very
to
least.
I kind of felt the same when I saw this. I'm like, what is happening to
selling
the CIA?
You're
What's
right.
going on? So I called my friend Doug Laux, who, as you know, was in the CIA, and he started laughing. He said, no, dude, don't worry. The CIA is still 99% white men, and 99% of those white men are Mormon.
But that's why the commercial had to happen.
Right.
Because they had to have their token Jew.
So they're lying to you. They're painting a picture that's false.
But I get it. You're recruiting a very specific person, but like we talk about, in all kinds of things, do you want your Delta pilot full of doubt? Do you want your CIA agent telling you that they have generalized anxiety disorder?
Those are the people who get passed on. They don't pass. Everybody's free to take the test, Doug says.
Right.
But
Everybody's
do
free
you
to
see
take the
that
test.
really as a recruitment video? Because I see that as a showing everybody that we're well represented in the minority community, disguised as a recruitment commercial.
Well, it's also the softening of the CIA when we don't even know how much our own government is spying on us personally. Don't worry about it. We're going to throw this over here for you.
And like Brian
We're
said,
nice. We have anxiety disorders just like you.
But I loved 85% of the shit she said just as a woman, like full stop, not apologizing, taking up my space, go fuck yourself. Great. But like you said, like, what are we selling? What is this commercial for?
I think commercials fall into one of two headings. There's commercials for Coke that are selling Coke, and then there are ones that are sort of selling the brand, good vibes, and I think
that's what I think. And I think it was representing, we're talking about mental illness a lot lately, check the box. We're talking about minorities a lot, not getting canceled, check the box. We're talking about women, check the box. It felt like that, but they didn't. You're right, great. And many of the things you said was great. It didn't feel like they landed it.
Well, she got out of the gate by explaining 9 things she was, and then says she didn't fit in any box. But
she started by
all
checking all the boxes,
boxes
and then said, "This is not a box checking exercise." Well, it just was.
And it did imply that there's a lot of hand turkey arts and crafts at the CIA because there are multiple hand turkeys in that commercial.
It took me by surprise.
That's about the daycare, maybe?
Maybe.
All
the
right.
daycare program?
Let me give you a plug here, Bethany. The TV show, reality competition show is called The Big Shot with Bethany. It's available now on HBO Max. And you can also listen to the podcast. It's
a great podcast.
Thank
I
you.
listen a lot. Sorry to interrupt, but
that's all right.
I listen to it a lot. I really at first I was like, what's this going to be? I listen to so many podcasts and like it's great. And there's one thing you said one time. You said a lot of things, but one thing I loved where you said you don't mix philanthropy and business and how you keep them separate. And I was like, these ideas are just so fascinating. It's not
because what happens is when I've been doing relief work, I do a lot of disaster relief work. We just did $100 million in 3 years and like $20 million in PPE during the pandemic. Brands, talking about disingenuous brands, they try to slip in. We want to help. We want to donate this much to the disaster in Puerto Rico or in India and they want a social post. So now what we're doing is you're giving me something and I'm doing an integration into so just give me the money or give me the stuff and pay me later separately if you want to do a brand deal. But I don't like when people ask me to do a speaking engagement and then they want to pay me in donating to my charity, which is a write-off for them. I just don't like church and state. I worked so much on relief and I worked so much on making money. And I just want those two to stay separate.
Really shrewd takes like that you wouldn't even know to ask. Like it's a really interesting podcast.
Well, there you go. Good plug. Just Be with Bethenny Frankel. Available Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well. Good to see you again, my dear.
Thank you for having me.
We'll talk soon. All right. Let me tell you about LifeLock, and then we'll get into some news. Cyber criminals target job seekers with fake postings designed to trick people into revealing their personal information and social security number. It's important to understand how cybercrime and identity theft are affecting our lives. Every day, we put our info at risk on the internet. In an instant, cyber criminals could harm your finances and your credit. Good thing there's LifeLock. LifeLock helps detect a wide range of identity threats like your social security number for sale on the dark web. If they detect your information has potentially been compromised, they'll send you an alert and you'll have access to a dedicated restoration specialist. It's LifeLock, right, Dawson?
No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but you can keep what's yours with LifeLock by Norton. Join now and save up to 25% off your first year by using promo code ADAM. Call 1-800-LifeLock or head to lifelock.com and use promo code ADAM for 20% off.
All right, quick break. Back with the news right after this.
Give me the news with Grad, news with Gina Grad. Breaking, viral, weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gina Grad. Stuff they saw on TMZ. Joe Biden, Kamala. Meet news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
We've talked a little bit about the Bill Gates divorce and what's going on, and we got, I think, the tip off from, I think it was you, Brian, who about the old fling that he was allowed to do the weekend a year.
Me.
That was moi.
Hey, oh you.
Yeah, he got his hall pass.
That's right. Well, this is totally different. He's getting his Me Too moment now because the Wall Street Journal reports that last year Gates was pushed off the board of Microsoft, which he co-founded, due to an inappropriate sexual relationship with a Microsoft employee. The engineer claimed in a letter that the affair with Gates started in 2000, went on for years. The New York Times published on Sunday a report that 2 other Microsoft employees received the "go out to dinner with me" messages from Gates. One of the women was emailed in 2006. She ghosted Bill, who concluded his email, "If this makes you uncomfortable, pretend it never happened." These disturbing reports, the Wall Street Journal calls them disturbing, follow another that noted how Melinda Gates began divorce proceedings the same month that Bill was exposed for having this very chummy friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, it's always surprising, like I said, because we're so we're so on the surface as a human, as a species. We're so superficial that, you look at Burt Reynolds and goes, that guy loves pussy. You look at Bill Gates, that guy doesn't want any pussy. Come on.
It's true.
And it's insane.
It's the butterfly and the cockroach.
Right. Bill Gates could have been much more into pussy than Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
I would argue that the guys that have their shirts undone to their navels and the big mustaches are actually overcompensating for maybe not being quite as into it as we think they should be.
That's a good point.
I don't know. But it's also Bert, Miss Bert, kind of. But there's also a thing, although people forget, you got to watch, You're Smoking the Bandits. Go watch Hooper or one of those movies with Bert at like the height of his powers. He was like he was the most charming guy ever born. You ever see Hooper?
No, but I saw Deliverance with a young Burt Reynolds, and he's the ultimate male. He's out there shooting bows and arrows and badass.
Hooper is a fun, I think it's a Hal Needham movie, but it's a fun in the vein of Smoking the Bandit and that kind of stuff. Fun movie. All right. So we have this thing, which is we have super powerful guys, rich and powerful guys. And, when it comes to rich and powerful, there's perks, traditionally.
Wealth and power being two of them.
Well, so let's break it down. Yeah. You got to go on exotic vacations, and you got to eat at fine restaurants. But Bald Brian is nor rich or powerful.
That's right.
He gets to go on good vacations, and he gets to eat at fine restaurants. But what is that?
Without the wealth or the power,
nothing. Not even a modicum of respect from your peers.
Well, I don't know about that.
I don't ask. The point is this. There's not such a chasm.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is if you said to any rich and powerful guy who's in his late 50s, early 60s or something, and you go, you are married to the same person you met before you were rich and powerful. So there's sort of that. So, Ben Affleck can date or marry or J-Lo or whatever, but there's a pool that he's choosing from.
Correct.
It's called models and supermodels.
Yeah.
That's the pool. When you're up and coming and starting that business or whatever it is, you're not choosing from that pool.
You get what you get.
So now you're with that person, and ironically, you can go. I mean, Bill Gates' life, the home he lives in, the parties he goes to, the yachts he hangs out on. I mean, the life is the adventure, the opportunities, the people he gets to meet with, and the philanthropic stuff and everything too. But meanwhile, he would trade places with a 26-year-old Dawson who could go bang cocktail waitresses after his midnight shift let off at the San Diego radio station. You know what I mean? So all the power, all the prestige, all the money, all the everything. If you said, hey, Bill, or any of these guys, no exotic vacations, no yachts, and no touring the Louvre during the off hours, but you get to fuck 23-year-old hotties.
I'm back in.
They would all trade that all. They fucking trade that all in a second. So now we're living in this weird time where guys can't do that anymore, but these guys don't really know they can't. And there's also, it's too easy to communicate. So, I mean, you used to have to go to the bar and fucking man up, take a shot of Jaeger and like walk up and ask if you could sit down, used to have to go to the hot receptionist and go talk to her and ask her if she wants to go to lunch, But now you can text people shit when you're drunk.
You can.
know what
There's
I mean?
an app that's, oh my God, there's somebody that wants to fuck me 300 feet away.
Yeah.
Oh no. And then you literally go walk within the restaurant and find the person you just matched with on an app.
Well, there's easy fucking apps. But what I'm saying, if you're Bill Gates, you can just send that receptionist a thing saying, this weekend, my wife's out of town. We're having a couple friends over. You want to swing by? Or something. It's easy to do. It's also traceable.
Yes.
Now is the problem. But I would imagine there's going to be there's usually not a little bit of this. There's usually like a little more of it. They're going to find a little more of this.
Yeah, and it's so funny how I missed the boat on all of this. Like when I was little, you did not, I mean, the grads did not talk about Gina's like insanely intense anxiety disorders and my inability to leave the house and like go to school or go to a friend's house or even sleep in a different room in my house. I was a fucking mess. And this was not, you don't go shouting this from the rooftops. This is a very dirty little secret that like Gina had some issues. And, you know, working in New York when I was in my early 20s and I was asked to lunch by one of the higher ups at the place I was temping. And I was so nervous to say no. I just called out sick for the next 3 days and kept it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I missed the boat on all this shit.
I know. Now you're stuck with a guy who can't successfully complete a marathon because he goes too far.
I know. It's really the worst. I guess I won in the end.
Can't stop running at 26.2 miles.
He wasn't home yet. I wasn't going to go get him.
Well, so Bill Gates and all the mega rich and powerful guys, this is the new world order. Yeah. This one power that they possess that throughout time immemorial was the greatest part about, you know, your harem, your flock of women, your mistresses, your gumas that were, you know, stashed all over town, all gone.
Yeah.
Can't pull it off anymore.
It's so funny. It's not this exact thing, but it reminds me of one of my favorite Patton Oswalt jokes about how he used to say, like, you know, if I didn't like a song, I'd have to let you know, like Nickelback. You know why they sing that? Money and pussy. That's it. That's all. And then he goes, and then I thought, do you know what horrible atrocities have been committed on this earth in the name of money and pussy? Like, you know, rape and pillaging. And he's like, now the guys at Nickelback, they didn't want to be dictators, but they thought, I like that amount of money and pussy. I don't want to kill anybody. But you're right. I mean, this is what the dream is for you guys.
If only Tony Hinchcliffe had done the Nickelback routine. Still be with William Morris today.
Right.
May even got him a bump up.
That's right. And I'm sorry, Patton, for hacking your joke, but it is one of my favorites.
But so Bill's going to run in this, but so's all rich and powerful guys now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster has signed into law a bill that forces death row inmates to choose between the electric chair or a newly formed firing squad in the hopes that the state can restart execution after an involuntary 10-year pause, according to Fox News. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, state lawmakers gave their final sign-offs to the bill, which retains lethal injection as the primary method of execution if the state has the drugs, but requires prison officials to use the electric chair or firing squad if it doesn't. So the way I understand it is a little bit of a workaround because all the death row inmates were choosing lethal injection, which they stopped doing because they couldn't. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but they couldn't get the remember they couldn't get the cocktail.
Yeah.
Oh,
so it was like it was a loophole. Like, well, I chose lethal injection. Not my fault. You can't get your hands on it. So now they're saying, how about you choose a firing squad?
We live in a really weird world.
Death by gasoline drowning.
That's right.
Which is. I've always said, just bring back the firing squad. It's cheap, super effective. You know.
I would imagine in many ways painless because you don't really know you've been hit.
They say it's one of the most humane in the sense that it's quick and it's over.
Well, if you have a sick dog, do you put it in an electric chair or do you put it down like Old Yeller?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, so couple things. It's a lot cheaper. We never run out of bullets. I would still do a thing where I got all this guards together and I go, I do the thing. Remember I told you when it was time to figure out who the Cub Scout leader was going to go on the sleepover with the guys? Like someone's hand flew up. And we need someone to spend 3 nights with 9-year-olds up on Mount. Okay, Bob, you're out.
Jim's checking his phone in the back. You're in.
I would say I would get all my guards together and go, all right, I'm putting together a firing squad. Who's the first guy raised hand and go, you're out.
Yeah.
You're way too enthusiastic about this. I don't want you to love this part of your job. You can like it.
That's a good point.
But I want you to love it.
Yeah, you don't love what you do. Well, and even like with the electric chair, don't they have like 3 switches and you don't know which one has the juice?
Yeah, I guess.
They have a lot of
just
redundancy
so you don't,
for whatever, what's the word called?
Well, I don't.
Plausible deniability.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Like the rubber
exactly.
bullet in the firing squad.
Exactly.
One. Yeah. It's funny. I don't know which one. See, the problem with the injection and stuff is that people start choking on their own mucus or their own saliva, and there's stories of taking 20 minutes to put a guy down. It's not. Firing squad works every time. I bet they wouldn't let you smoke.
Oh, don't you always get a cigarette and a blindfold?
You used to get a cigarette.
One time.
I would bet there would be somebody who would object to the cigarette.
And it's so funny because like we talk about cauliflower, Brussels sprouts had this great PR person, Think about the counterintuitiveness of a firing squad and of lethal injection in terms of humane, because like you just said, it's like the injection, you just go right to sleep and your heart stops. No. You choke for 20 minutes. Well, firing squad seems very violent, but you're done.
Well, look, tons of teenagers kill themselves with gunshots every year. It's effective, and
don't use that in your pitch.
It's painless unless you survive. But
welcome to my TED Talk.
But also, look, the worst part about the electric chair, firing squad, or probably lethal injection is the night before, and then the morning of, and then the walk. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's got to be the biggest torture. It's got to be the walk with the priest and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Once you're strapped up, that's probably
Showtime.
the easiest part of it. It's the lead up to it in the long walk. So that shall exist whatever modality you choose.
And you know what else I just realized is also the very sort of barbaric part, but I've never been in this situation. The viewing gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's in a John Steinbeck novel.
But it's real.
No. He wrote about that. The weirdness of the guy that wanted to, be the witness.
Right. The victims' families or whatever.
Yeah. Weird.
Anyway.
All weird.
Well, I've been bringing up UFOs, and now I'm not alone because Senator Marco Rubio has thoughts on UFOs. So TMZ reports that Rubio says it's time to start talking about or taking UFOs seriously in this country, especially on Capitol Hill, because he says they are a threat.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we had that sci-fi movie moment where they did come down and they did,
we all got our
came out and showed themselves, and they just went, "We have been studying your ways. We've been studying. The reason you've seen us is we've been studying your ways, and here's what we've concluded." Electric cars are good, but it's going to take about 5 years, so let's get the pipeline back going. You guys never stop talking about clean electric, but you won't do fucking nuclear power plants. That'd be the most efficient way to do it. The Patriots' old uniforms are much better than the new ones. That's owned with Grogan
big to small.
And those guys.
The 1 week a year that we're throwbacks is by far the best.
We've studied everything. Critical race theory is going to cause a fucking civil war in this country, and it's not chickpeas, it's garbanzo bean. They would just lay out a whole decree, and they'd go, "Look, not for nothing, we don't got a dog in this fight. We just watched, and we're geniuses.
Yeah,
we're capable of interstellar travel. We're far smarter than you are.
We're millions of years ahead.
We'll just lay it out. DJ Khaled does nothing. Yeah. Stop giving him your money.
We've been through all this a million years ago in our timeline.
Right.
That's great. Well, the legislator from Florida who headed up the Senate Intelligence Committee just last year spoke openly on this subject, saying despite the snickering that still goes on, he wants answers on these unexplained aerial phenomena. So on 60 Minutes on Sunday, Rubio said they could pose a serious risk to our national security, seeing as how they're constantly being spotted floating around. Now, here's a clip from 60 Minutes where Navy pilot David Fravor talks about his experience with a UFO on the Pacific coast in 2004. And, these are all very sober dudes, so these stories are very interesting.
Dad got out. I said, "Dude, do you see that thing down there?" And we saw this little white tic-tac looking object, and it's just kind of moving above the whitewater area.
As Dietrich circled above, Fravor went in for a closer look.
So it's sort of spiraling down? Yep. The tic-tac's still pointing north-south. It goes and just turns abruptly and starts mirroring me. So as I'm coming down, it starts coming up.
So it's mimicking your moves.
Yeah, it was aware we were there.
He said it was about the size of his F-18, with no markings, no wings, no exhaust plumes.
I'll see how close I can get. So I go like this, and it's climbing still. And when it gets right in front of me, it just disappears. Disappears. Like gone.
Marco Rubio is such a fucking simpleton. Like it's going to affect our national security. If these things are real and they possess technology we can possibly understand and are capable of being detected, not being captured, not being whatever, what defense do we have for national security? If they want to destroy us, we'd be at their mercy.
Space Force.
We'd be helpless.
Yeah.
I think he's saying it just to get them,
get the ball rolling.
Get them, because you can't go not for nothing. You got to go. This is a seriously affecting or could have implications.
Yeah.
You do that. Here's the implications. Nothing's better than national security.
Yeah.
Now you must share it.
And
Well, my take is kind of both. I mean, national, like either this stuff exists or something exists. Either way, we should know about it. So either it's some Chinese drone or it's this.
Which is more likely, honestly.
Which
is more likely?
You are no fun at all.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's more likely.
Yeah, I don't. The thing. I mean, the thing is we are the tip of the spear from this aviation technology. There's no country that knows more, has more than we have, or can do more than
right.
There's variations of what we do, but it's all we kind of do it the best. And God knows what I don't know. But I mean, my stepdad worked for Lockheed and the Skunk Works for a long time, and they were working on a bunch of top secret shit, and they were doing stealth planes in the 90s and stuff like that. So if whatever is going on in these videos or to the pilots is mind-numbing to them, it probably means it's not another version of us doing it. So I don't know what it is.
That's my point ultimately. It would be like a Pop Warner team saying, hey, we're playing an NFL team this weekend. We got to start taking this seriously. It's
right.
Like, no, you know,
have a chance.
It won't even be a contest.
I would bet that certainly from a national security standpoint, I wouldn't look at it as they're going to destroy us or we're going to fight them or any of that. But what is this technology and who gets their fucking hands on it?
That's interesting.
Because you shouldn't. We would not want Iran to buddy up to
technology.
Well, maybe they just
land.
Right. Maybe they land there and they just take a shining to the Ayatollah or something. I mean,
well, that's how the rise of the machines, the Terminators. Remember, they got his arm and they got a chip out of the guy's the head. And
so,
next thing you know, fucking Skynet.
If the aforementioned Sweden or Canada gets hold of this stuff, I think we'd be okay with ourselves. But there are a lot of rogue nations there.
That's a good point. And I always just grew up thinking, you know what would unite the entire world? Aliens. Then we'd have something to really, band together and fight. That ship has sailed. This stuff comes down, we start blaming each other and killing each other immediately.
Wow.
Don't you think?
That's what they want.
That's right.
Wow.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I guess. Also, I guess we should apologize to a lot of farmers we're calling drunken nut jobs from the 60s.
Mel
like,
Gibson
I swear
in the
to
crop
God,
circles.
I'm staring out there. You drinking too much, Hank. Get
The
back
anal
to work.
probes. That's right.
Why do you think the aliens targeted those guys?
Yeah. No one would
They wouldn't be
believe them.
believed.
Yes. UFC lightweight Beneil Dariush extended his winning streak to 7 with a unanimous decision victory over Tony Ferguson at UFC 262 on Saturday night. But that's not what really captured the headline. When the fight ended, after thanking Jesus and speaking about anti-Marxist ideology, there was one more person he wanted to call out. Here's a clip of him in the octagon talking to Joe Rogan.
And finally, I want to call somebody out. Joe, I want to call out your buddy. Elon Musk, where's my wife's car, bro? I've been waiting 6 months. I'm having a baby. I need a good car. I gotta protect my daughter. Let's go, Elon. Get me my car.
Okay, let's talk about the fight.
Joe, always the pro.
The worst feeling ever, because I've done this a few times, and there's an old guy version of it at a wedding where they grab your hand and go, I want to say something to Tammy and Rico. And you're like, okay, crazy old guy with the grip. Everything goes when you're old, not the grip. The grip gets stronger as you get older. Everything else goes, but the fucking grip gets more powerful.
Intense. Yeah.
The nutsack and the grip are the two things that do not fade.
Right.
And the grip on the nutsack, buddy, watch
and
out.
it's always bad. You combine those two in the worst Reese's peanut butter cup ever. Yeah, you feel that hand on the thing. It's that's always bad.
Yeah,
always
that's a
bad.
good point. And then they asked him about it afterwards. At they sit at the little press conference table, and they said, "Yeah, what was that about Elon?" He's like, "Hey, bro, I was supposed to get this car in March. It's almost June. Like, it's disrespectful. Like this is on the brain."
Yeah, I'll always. Sorry, we'll bring it home, and then I'll tell you a story.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news. Oh my God, there's somebody that wants to fuck me 300 feet away.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
I told you, Uncle Frank, God rest his soul, Uncle Frank's move was the claw on the upper arm. And just like the mic grab, it's an admittance of guilt. It's like, this person's not going to let me finish my thought, so I must claw onto his forearm, and Frank...
Too many people escaped.
He had so many people slide out of his, Jimmy should run for mayor of Hollywood conversations at the barbecue that he just instinctively started going for the upper arm grab. And once you had that Denver boot on your bicep, you had to hear out whatever story he was telling. But it's funny how these things, it probably didn't happen when he was 22. It happened later on when people were trying to get out of the conversation.
And that's that nice, I don't give a shit anymore vibe. Like, you're going to hear this whether you're interested or not.
It was funny because Frank did it in it was kind of an endearing way, but it was also you're not going anywhere kind of way.
Right.
It was...
I like that.
Yeah, he'll be missed. All right. Last but not least, Hyundai Tucson. That's right. Every inch of the new Tucson's been completely reimagined, resulting in an SUV loaded with innovations inside and out. And you can learn more at Hyundai.com. Los Angeles, Jam in the Van. We're doing a live podcast. Dawson's doing stand-up there. Max Zapata's band is playing as well. That's this Saturday, Jam in the Van. We're all going to be there. And you can go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows coming up. Golden, Colorado, and Anchorage, Alaska. Just added one in Raleigh. That's
Raleigh.
Bring some gas.
In July 16th, 17th. Doing a live pod there, doing stand-up there. Royal Oak, Michigan, Kansas City. Go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live stuff. And until next time, Adam Carolla for Bethenny Frankel, Gina Grad, and Paul Bryan. Say it. Mahalo. Now go pump the round eyes gas, bitch.
Okay.